excited about movies. Oh, I've got sound going and I don't know why. Hello. There we are. Yes. Because So, hello and welcome. And let me introduce everybody. We've got Tom. You may remember him. Hello, Tom. And then we have today's very special guest, Nichole. Hello, Nichole. Yay. New blood. Would either of you like to introduce yourself?
Go ahead, Tom.
I have no real intro. Okay,
Okay, I've got an intro for Tom. Okay, because yes, I've been actually thinking about this one because I kind of very gently Googled Nichole to get all her links, and I was like, if I'm going to all this trouble, let me go see if I can find all of Tom's links. So you're going to find out in the description below. There's a load of links, including I actually tracked down. Tom has a book out on Amazon that's been out for 4 years on computer repair. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. So be sure to check that out. And quite frankly, if you just DM him, I'm sure he'll send it to you if you don't want to buy it.
It's fine. I have Kindle Unlimited.
It's like, hey, how do I fix my computer? So so Tom does actually have a book because everyone on AuthorTube has a book currently available for purchase except moi. So my book's been out of print for 25 years. But anyhow, there's my intro for Tom, and I've talked about myself. Nichole, how about you introduce yourself?
I feel bad because I was going to use the time that Tom was talking to figure out what to say about myself, but that was like so riveting. Now I'm just like, I don't know, I'm Nichole.
Okay. I will definitely take it as a compliment. Okay, so Nichole's got a new book baby coming out December 1st. I know that from my gentle Googling. I have serious Google foo, y'all. You don't know this, but it's one of my superpowers. And all her links are below. I found her Facebook page for her author stuff. I found her website. She has a newsletter sign up. Do check it out. She's got Instagram and Twitter. Let's see, there's 8 links total. And of course, she has YouTube. Do show her some love if you haven't already subscribed. And while I am talking about subscribing, if you haven't subscribed to us and you're having a good time, maybe consider subscribing and even, I don't know, loving on the like button just a little bit. Just like consensual liking. Just a little bit on the button. Just throw that out there. Something to think about. Let's see. That is 6. I am forgetting 2 of Nichole. Well, I actually have a link to Nichole's upcoming book, as well as her Amazon author page, which I would like to just let everyone know. You can click follow. I'm going to tell you something about Nichole. I found out that I absolutely love the title of her first book. I think it is the coolest title I have seen this year. No offense to anybody else, but it was like I have been thinking about it all week. So is it, in fact, Ghost Stories for the Heartbroken? And am I remembering that correctly? Or is
Brokenhearted.
Or it's Brokenhearted, thank you, because the dyslexia is what it is.
No, you're fine. I only remember that it's Brokenhearted because I didn't know if you had to hyphenate the other one, and I was like, I don't know, just switch them around.
I will tell you a quick tip, because I have had a lot of newspaper editor friends over my lifetime. And one editor friend told me that when in doubt, hyphenate it. If you're like, is it 1 word or is it 2 words? Hyphenate it. You will never be wrong if you hyphenate a cliche or known phrase. So I'm just saying, throwing that out there, just in case it helps allay anyone's anxieties, because no one should feel anxious about words and writing, even though I say that as somebody who all the time feels anxious. Just saying. So let's see. I think that's all 8 of Nichole's links. I could be wrong. Nichole,
you remembered more than I did.
I'm trying to get good at this. I even have a folder, should Nichole ever come back and visit us, where I can then like put links into the chat.
Yay!
I am getting organized for my guests. Oh yes. I like that. It appeals.
So real quick, has anyone else in the group ever watched Horrible Histories?
I mean, I have.
Little secret. Glory does a lot of impersonations people just don't know or recognize. And, for anyone who has seen it, she's really doing a beautiful impersonation of the host from Horrible Histories. The little puppet rat. I mean, you really do like the great hand thing.
A puppet rat from Horrible Histories? Is this like
yes,
a plague thing?
It is.
This is a
an
real
awesome.
thing.
Yeah, it's an awesome character.
I have to write this down.
Horrible Histories, the first 5 or 6 seasons. It's a British series on Hulu. Is awesome.
Perfect.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I do recommend the live action version of Horrible
Yeah.
Histories, especially the first 5 seasons. After that, I feel iffy about it. There was all sorts of shakeup behind the scenes at the BBC and the CBBC, whatever, Canadian. But the first 5 seasons are fantastic, and that crew went on to do Yonderland, and now they do a TV show called Ghosts, which is still hilarious. Is an ensemble cast, and they're really great. So if you like the first 5 seasons, I am fully aware of all their other shows, and you could ask me about it if you're like, all right, I finished Horrible Histories. But what I learned, because I originally watched Horrible Histories one week when I was so sick. I mean, this is several years ago. I was so sick. And I was just binging. I was just letting, because Hulu will play for 5 hours without you having to click anything on it. And I had the no commercials version. Ugh, flex. And I was like, after 2 seasons, and one day I was like, Tom, I have insight about the world history. And he's like, go on and tell me, Sickie, what you got? And I was like, it turns out that there seems to be like a direct correlation between how violent a society is in their crime and punishment and how their sewage systems are going, or if they even have sewage systems, or if they're just throwing poo in the street. Because I knew enough about a lot of European history beforehand, because our stepmother had a doctorate in ancient and medieval languages and art. And so I met her when I was 18, when Dad was going to marry her. That's how we met. We at the time we're living in the Philippines. This was his old college sweetheart before Mom. There's so much going on there. And anyway, and so we were trying to get to know each other because we didn't really have like proper American cable. We didn't really have air conditioning. And it was monsoon season. So you can't go out when it's raining, and then it's all, anyway. So we were trying to get to know each other, and I was like, tell me about plagues. Just tell me anything interesting. And so she would tell me about a lot of historical plague accounts because, there's some crazy stuff people do in a plague.
That is so exciting.
I mean, like, look, as an 18-year-old who had already gone through my Victorian diseases phase, I was absolutely obsessed with Victorian era medicine and diseases. So including the medical instruments. Like, yes, some things about autism are true. There was a hyper-focus thing going on. And and so I had just I was kind of winding to an end, and I'm like, tell me something interesting about medieval and dark age medicine. And she's like, well, I can tell you about plagues because apparently that was like the hottest thing to write about back then. It's like all the weird plague behavior people would do. Like literally in one town, I think in Germany, that while they were going through a plague, which I think turned out to be something that grows in rye grain over the winter, it's a fungus. People started dancing in the streets and the roads all day, all night, 24 hours. People would literally drop dead from exhaustion after dancing. And they started slowly dancing toward the next village. And the next village was like, don't even come here. And I'm like, so the party that had to dance back up the road to their village. And I'm like, what? This is like the thriller version of zombie hordes. I love this.
It's like the exact opposite of Footloose.
Right. No, just dance it back. And like literally pitchforks, torches, they just held a line. The farmers and the peasants held a line at the start of their village of no, just go back. Just don't even come here. And they were like, okay. And they just turned around and kept dancing back to their village a couple miles away. It's great. And, after about a week, it was over. And, only a few people had died. Many people were very tired, and pretty much the village slept mostly for a month. And then the people who survived were fine.
Oh my goodness.
For real. And I mean, that was literally, we would have conversations about this, and that was how I got to know our stepmom. So. Anyway, that was a fun tangent. Let's see what he's doing. There's been a lot going on in the chat. So, hey Maggie, how are you? How are you feeling, sweetheart? Are you doing okay? Because we've been thinking a lot about you lately. Maggie says, I love Men in Black and Men in Black 2, especially the post office scene. Tom, why don't you talk about the post office scene real quick and get it out of the way?
So I think like 4, maybe 6 months after Men in Black 2 came out, I had a seasonal job for about 4 months working at the local post office sorting facility. And I ended up just going around to all the different sections, and since I was sort of as needed, I ended up working all the different sections with most of the people in the post office. And, Men in Black 2 had just come out. So I kind of, started asking people so do you think anyone here is an alien? And invariably, everyone had the same response, which was really fascinating. No, I'm a human. I'm sure of that. I can assure you, I'm human. But that guy over there, he is so weird, he's got to be an alien. Everyone in the post office was sure at least 3 other people were aliens. But it wasn't them.
It always wasn't them. It was always somebody else, but they were sure there was at least one alien at the post office.
So like early days Among Us?
Yep.
And he told me about this at the time, and I just thought that was hilarious because our stepfather also worked at the post office. That's how Tom knew to apply for the job, because so Tom was ready when they posted it publicly. And, it's just one of those non-union jobs. But I was like, if you get hired, you got to find out if there's any aliens. We were very young. Let's see. CB is here. Hi, CB. How you doing? Yep, sorry.
Real quick, go to the bottom post. I think you'll enjoy Maggie's response.
Oh, she was a carrier and a clerk before became a rural postmaster. Oh. Everyone I've ever known who's worked at a post office, if I've mentioned this about Tom's observation, everybody says, oh, I know exactly what you mean, because I swear there was at least one person I worked with who had to be an alien. So I think it's really fascinating to think about post office culture. CB has only seen Men in Black International because of their hardcore admiration of Liam Neeson. And just ordered the trilogy on Blu-ray. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy it. Or at least that you'll be able to get through it and not have wasted it.
We apologize in advance because we probably will spoil some of the movie for you.
Oh, yeah. We're about to spoiler the heck out of this thing. Charlie's here. Hey, sweetie. How are you doing? And Stephanie is here. Hello. How are you doing? Yes, we were actually talking about book blurb. And Nichole, I can do a book blurb for Stephanie. Stephanie's book.
Yeah, I read it, so I can go ahead and, I'll lead this entire, book club. We got it.
Right. Jules is here. Hello, sweetie. How are you? By the way, your eye makeup looked fantastic today. Just wanted to mention that. I meant to DM you that. Sorry. Yes, Charlie made it to the beginning. Miracles can happen, and we're really happy about that. Okay. We'll see. We'll try to get through the spoilers first with Men in Black. Always go to the last page on Kindle Unlimited so the authors get paid. The last page. Oh, when you're reading it, always go to the very last page. Yeah. Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yep, you get paid by page read.
Excellent. Everybody's saying hello to Charlie. Charlie's saying hello to people. It's a little love fest. We are very happy. There is a link. Yes. Thank you. There are many links, in fact.
8.
Yeah, there's a bunch of links. Yes. Let's see. It jumped. Is anybody checking on their bingo card? I just want to make sure everybody's got that. 2020 strikes again. It's true. Fungus will kill us all. It's true. Thankfully now, they actually fumigate grain with sulfites, or sulfates actually, among other options to reduce the fungus growing in silos. So there's less people who suddenly hallucinate when they have bread.
But it can be a reason why a lot of people have a sensitivity to flour products.
The sulfate part.
Because the sulfate, they don't have to say if they've used sulfate, but they only use it in wheat they're storing over winter. So that's how we figured it out. Was it turned out, for a while we had to stop because Glory had such a bad reaction.
Yeah.
And then we noticed that soft, what was it, Sister Schubert rolls. There was no reaction because it's using a summer wheat.
And same for Little Caesars.
Because it's freshly made, it's not stored for any period of time. They get the wheat, they make it, they use it within 2 weeks. And we're like, wait, why isn't this wheat having a problem, but the stuff we've been getting from the store and the more commercial long-term storage products, there's this problem. Mm-hmm. We figured out sulfite.
Yeah. I mean, now why was I having a problem with sulfite? Well, it turns out that I had a crack in a filling. It was an internal crack, not an external. And so I was slowly getting mercury poisoning from the silver in my molar filling.
Oh.
So,
not good.
When I went to the dentist and they noticed this different dentist from the one who put it in, they, redid the filling, and literally within a few weeks, I did not have the same level of sulfite sensitivity as I was having. So,
wow.
But the temporary fix, before we found out, because we were like, how is it possible? I mean, I have the symptoms of essentially heavy metal poisoning, low level, but how is this a thing? In the meantime, you can take molybdenum as a supplement to counteract sulfite. So people who drink red wine or any wine and they get a stuffy nose within 20 minutes, that's a sulfite sensitivity for whatever the reason. And you can take molybdenum. You can just literally pop a molybdenum right before that within 5-10 minutes, and then drink your wine and not have that, the congestion. So
that is so strange.
So many tips.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Eva. It's so nice to see you. Glad that you could join us. Since Eva is here, should we just go ahead? We're just going to get through all the things that we were on the agenda this week we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
So, yeah, let's say you're the better presenter.
Choose what works. Nobody. We would like to thank Eva so much for their donation to my coffee account. We used it to get, what was it for the computer?
Finally, it turns out this laptop does actually have a replaceable processor, unlike most laptops where it's soldered in. So I was able to upgrade it from a dual core to a quad core, and that seems to have solved several of the problems. Apparently Windows 10 is just made for a lot more processing cores, and so once you have 4, it calms down a lot. So far, it seems to be working a bit better. Yeah,
we were able to get a quad-core processor for the laptop. And as you see, Tom's doing better technical difficulty-wise today because of that. So thank you so much, Eva. You've been our angel. We appreciate it.
Yay!
Yay! Hummingbird Sister Love, yes. Eva says, I was here early, it pulled away, but this is still pretty good for me. You're doing great, sweetheart. You're doing great. Lots of hugs. Lots of hugs. CB's back, got fed up with Survivor. Well, as I said, we're about to talk some spoilers about Men in Black. And it says, made gluten-free bread last week, but made me really ill, so I might have a sensitivity, either the yeast or the buttermilk. Oh, dear. I definitely think you need to figure that out. That's not good. Yeah, you got to be careful with the sulfites. It is a problem. Congrats on the upgrade. Yes. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Okay. So, Nichole. Again, we wanted, because Tom has ADD and I have ADHD, in case no one has figured out how hyperactive I am. We were like, we absolutely need to get Nichole to talk about her upcoming book baby
Okay.
before we forget. And get lost in the talk about Barry Sonnenfeld and the Addams Family and Men in Black and all of that before we get into, or nano projects. So, tell us all about your new book baby.
Oh, okay. I can do this. I promise. I wrote a book.
Yay!
Yay!
It's a novella, essentially. Not essentially, it really is a novella. And it will be available on Amazon December 1st. It will be available in ebook form, which you can pre-order the ebook now, but you cannot pre-order the softcover, which will be available December 1st. I don't know why Amazon doesn't let you do pre-orders for softcovers. That doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. So
Kind of surprising. I did not know that.
yeah, you can pre-order ebooks, but you cannot, like, as soon as I click the button, it'll like go live. And I don't want to do that until the right date. So yeah. So you can do that with ebooks, you can't do it with softcover. But the book that I wrote is Spellbound the Magician. And the reason it has two names is because it was originally one book. It was originally supposed to just be one novel. And I realized midway through writing it that I don't like writing novels. It is boring to me. I much prefer short stories, and Ghost Stories for the Brokenhearted is a collection of short stories. So I learned the hard way. I much prefer short stories. Short stories are great too, I'm sure. But I have broken Spellbound into 4 books, and they're getting released slowly over time. And that's what is coming out. It's the first of the 4-book series.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. Would you like to tell us a little about what it's about?
Can I just read the blurb so I don't actually have to use my brain?
Absolutely, go for it, honey.
Okay, that's probably better for everyone.
Yeah, we're from Mississippi, and we're of the good, better, best. That's how you survive here.
Yep. All right, here we go. So, magic isn't real. In 16 years, Davy Archer has never seen it. The daughter of the Heaven's High Priestess, she's expected to take up the broomstick in her mother's place. She'd rather be exploring the woods alone, though, and sends a big message during MIB ritual that can't be ignored. So the bonfire blew up. Yeah, the entire town is in a deep sleep. Sure, there's an invisible barrier locking them into Boston Falls. So my magic, not even a ghost appearing, proves something otherworldly has happened. But when 3 other teenagers show up to claim their magic powers, Davy has to admit there's more to her world than she wants to see. Can Boston Falls survive the magic attack with only 4 teenagers to defend it?
I love the description because I'm like, yeah, that sums up teenagers right there.
Yeah.
Like, that whole, like, you can get a hint with, like, the equivalent of a pebble, and then the hint is more like a brick. And then eventually the hint is a brick wall. Which hint are you going to listen to?
Exactly. And it's usually the one that has something to do with their place in society, their social.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that there's a ghost, but
it could be anything. Like, you can't I totally refuse the call.
Yeah, and then like suddenly like a cheerleader shows up and you're like, no, wait a minute. Now there's a problem.
I feel that deep.
So it's not exactly YA, but it does follow 4 teenagers, 4 16-year-olds, as they are set to save their town from an army of zombies is what they think is attacking them.
I mean, that sounds very intimidating. Like, I remember what it was like being a teenager, or at least vaguely remember, and I'm like, that's a load of suck.
Yes.
I would be very disgruntled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the nice thing is they don't have to go to school while, all this is going on.
Yeah, that is one bonus.
That's a benefit. They get the day off, kind of. One of the characters steals a Camaro. That's how they get around town, is in a stolen Camaro.
Well, at least if you're going to commit Grand Theft Auto, do it in style. Okay.
Yes, have a nice car as you do it. I mean, but in his defense, he does say, well, I'm just going to put gas in it and put it back.
Aww.
Like, if you really think about it, they're going to be really happy that we saved the world. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. Yeah, we need a car to drive. Might as well be this one.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. And yes, Stephanie was like, tell us. Yes, we love hearing about book babies. Abigail showed up. Hello, darling. How have you been? It's so nice to see you. And Eva posted the link to the book. So if anybody wants to check it out, maybe purchase it or at least put it on their wish list, December.
Mm-hmm.
It's a certain kind of season for a lot of people. Birthdays, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Mine is Christmas Eve, and if you want to get me something nice, buy my book.
There we go. It's like you get 2 gifts for the price of 1, right?
Yeah.
You can gift Nichole while also gifting yourself with a nice story, a fun. It sounds like a great escape to me.
That's exactly it.
Well, and
it's short. It's short, so it's something you could read in a day or 2, and then be really mad that it's not longer. I apologize in advance for that.
Well, then that leads me to the question, out of curiosity, do you have the next book lined up, or where is that in, like, do you have a release date for that figured out yet, or?
I do. The next one comes out March 1st, 2021. Okay.
Nice.
So if all goes well, they will just be every 3 months that they're releasing. But I'm currently in the process of writing in, I'm at the end of draft 2, draft 3. I start writing December 1st. So I'm going to have a busy week that week.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, there's no rest for the wicked. It's like, while I'm working on next one, I start the next one, get the next one going. So
I just want to point out that there is so much love for the cover right now in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I made that.
Okay. That is so good.
Very nice.
I cannot praise Canva enough. I got my intention was just to get the little, the trial thing and just to make a whole bunch of stuff. I had so much fun making all of that I was like, no, I'm buying a full year. I need a year to play with this. It's too fun. So I make everything in Canva. It's so fun.
It is. I love Canva. I have definitely used Canva for a lot of things. Tanya is here. Hello. And I think she is remarking about teenage brains.
Yes. And not fully formed.
So the world seems impossible. And Stephanie has now pre-ordered it.
I liked Eva's idea of just, I can order for someone else. It's a 3-in-1.
There you go. And I also fully appreciate if people buy my book and then they read it and they're like, well, yeah, I mean, it's really nice, but I don't want to keep it. Donate it. If you have a little book library, put it in there. I'm all for that too. I don't keep any books, which sounds really weird, but it has to be a certain kind of book that I keep for myself. Everything else that I buy, I immediately donate after I've read it so that somebody else can read it. Then I'm excited. But I'm weird that way. Some authors have this big wall book. I don't have one of those because all of mine go away.
Yeah, I guess I'm more of the book hoarder type. However, I'm happy to buy another copy to give somebody. And I have been known to purchase a second copy, used, excuse me, in order to lend to someone else, just because I don't want to have arguments with people about whether they returned it or not, or where's my book that I love so much. So I would rather, give them that book, and if they ever return it, great, I'll lend it out again. But, again, that's just me, and that's how I operate.
Oh, I totally understand, because that's the way that I am with the Night Circus. I probably have put Aaron Morgenstern's kids through college single-handedly. I want to say that I've now purchased 16 copies of that book and then given them away. everyone that I meet that says, "Oh, I've never read it," I'm like, "Here, take it, read it." And the problem with that is that I would always give away my copy, and then I'd go buy another one, and then my husband was finally like, "You gotta stop doing this." So he bought me one of the hardcovers and was like, "Stop loaning this book out. Like, just go buy a paperback for other people to have. Stop loaning out your books." Like,
Right.
Okay.
That is what I did with the Terry Pratchett books that I love, the Discworld books. Was I had my copy that I love this one edition of the paperbacks. I love the covers, and then for everyone else's, it's like whatever I can find on half.com or Abe's Books, whatever, and I'll just order that. Because when I worked at the library, I used to also do book repair. So I know how to fix these paperbacks up and send them back out into the world. And that's what I do because there's pretty much nobody around here in my part of Mississippi that has ever even heard of Terry Pratchett, let alone has ever seen it even as offered in the bookstore, which was the same problem I had. I'd never seen it offered, so I had to order online whether I wanted to or not.
Huh.
Even though the first Discworld convention in America was held in New Orleans, like I think 2 years ago. Yeah, even though. And Dr. Jack is the one who got me into Discworld in the first place with The Fifth Elephant. But I got that book because I had never watched The Fifth Element before. This was the 2000s. And everybody had told me, "Have you watched it? You really remind me of a particular character." And I was like, no. And I thought, well, the Fifth Element, it was, I don't know if you remember how hard it was to get movies back then. And it was before streaming was real. And so I couldn't find a copy. It was like maybe once a year. It might be on TBS, but, good luck tracking that down because I didn't have cable anyway. And so I thought, well, let me read The Fifth Elephant. Maybe it's like a parody of it, so at least I'll understand the basic storyline. It is not. It has nothing to do with the movie. But I got hooked. I got hooked anyway. So, anyhow, okay, so this is what I'm thinking we do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to our first break. And when we come back, we're actually going to start talking movies. Nichole, what do you think? Are you on board with us?
I like it. I'm going to be transparent. I cannot remember Men in Black, any of them. I think I saw them when they first came out, but that's it. But the Addams Family discussion, oh man, I am good for that one. You got me 100% for that. I have a lot to say about Morticia's lighting in this movie. So
yeah, I have plenty to say about all the Dutch angles of the cinematography. Yes. As a photographer, I'm very interested in, since Barry Sonnenfeld started as a cinematographer.
Yeah.
You can definitely see it. And I'm just like, let's talk about this. I know nobody talks about photography here, but I have thoughts. Anyhow. Okay, so I'm gonna do the thing and share the screen. And I'm gonna pull it up because I actually remembered this time. Yeah. All right. Are we ready?
Ready.
In 3, 2, 1. Sprint! beep 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 beep.
Such a gentle wake up.
Well, yeah, because like I don't like a lot of the audios. I find them disturbing. But let me remember to turn off the banner. Haha, it's all about the details.
Oh, look at you.
I'm trying. It's only taken like what 3-4 months of doing this every week to remember anything. Okay, so how did everybody do? What did you do?
I went and stole cookies out of the freshly baked sugar cookie pile.
I am so envious.
I was like, ooh, cookies! Basically.
Were they excellent?
They were delicious. They do not have, because they're just sugar cookies. They don't have frosting on them yet, no icing. But they're so good just by themselves. And when they don't taste like cardboard.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Real sugar cookies are a joy.
Oh, yeah.
Most sugar cookies, less so.
Yeah.
I ate the spinach and fake crab dip that Tom made me earlier, which is why I decided to just go ahead and turn my camera off at the time. Because nobody needs to watch the shoveling.
The shoveling?
Yes, I have tortilla chips, and I was using it like, doing my best T-Rex impression. I mean, like, I'm not embarrassed about it, but yeah. And I mean, I had a bit of margarita out of my very seasonal cup.
It's a very Christmassy skull and crossbones.
Yes, see, that's what I think.
Yes.
I won this many years ago, and I don't remember what. I have no idea what I did. I just remember, like, there was, like, candy in it, and I was like, ooh. It's dishwasher safe, or it is now anyway. Okay. So, just to recap, Eva wants to stock a library, and these are the ones that they buy new because thrifting is hard. Agreed. And Stephanie talked about that they don't have a ton of space in the RV. So she reads ebooks, but before that, way too many bookshelves. There's no such thing as too many bookshelves. I'm just here to tell you. As a recovering librarian. No. Maggie hoards the hard copies and loads the paperbacks. Amen. Yes. Eva says, my husband really prefers audiobooks. I just sit at a device. So often I end up going for physical books when I can. The library's ebook options are plentiful and refuses to pay for Audible. I can understand that. While I'm talking about it real quick, I just want to make sure everybody knows, just in case, that every single state in America, as far as I know to this day, has a membership option to the Library of Congress's BARD system. What is it actually called? The library, what is it? Something for the blind and physically handicapped.
Yeah.
Which is not really, like, they are literally talking about changing this name again, so don't worry about that. But, like, so for instance, I'm dyslexic. I qualify.
If you're ADD, actually, you
I have
qualify.
ADD and ADHD. I qualify. I also have not great eyesight. Really not great eyesight. I mean, I can drive and everything, although I have to have special coatings on my lenses so that I can drive at night so I don't get, like, this terrible lens flare. To give you an idea of, like, I really do prefer to read large print for physical comfort for my eyes. So, again, I qualify. And I have Ehlers-Danlos, which, again, I qualify because Ehlers-Danlos makes it difficult sometimes, like when I mess up my ankles or wrists, and I sprain them and I'm in ace bandages for weeks, there even sometimes months. Again, that means I qualify for this program. And anybody similar like that and many other, things that essentially get in your way of either going to the library, utilizing their services, any of that, all of it is free with the Library of Congress. And it has a fantastic app for your phone that works just like Audible, only did I mention free? Literally millions of titles, including almost all Silver Age books from every genre known to man, and in a variety of languages too. So I just want to let everybody know, you're an American citizen, you're an American visitor, you qualify.
And what you do is you go to your library and you sign up for your state's program that you have reading difficulties.
Right, you're going to need to have a local library card in your wherever you qualify to, your public library system. And then you'll actually go through your state library system. So you have a local public library and maybe your county or maybe a region of your state. But then there is an all over state program. And they're the ones who actually administer it. And that's who you actually, your librarian, or you can actually independently contact them. They'll have a website, I promise you. And if you can't find it, please let me know. As a former librarian, I am happy to help everybody, because all librarians are know-it-alls who get paid to know it all. And you can you then sign up through them, and then they just give you a login kind of information, and you just download the Bard app and get going. If you want the physical machines, you can have those too, and they are free. Again, they are heavy suckers. You could defend your life with these things. But before, I had a good phone, I used to actually use it in the car on my commutes to and from the library system, which was about a 20-minute commute each way. And this thing is so loud. Even in a loud car. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can turn up even louder. And it would play whatever you had ordered from your state system, which, my state system didn't have as big a selection as the Library of Congress. So it was one of the big bonuses of getting a phone with better memory and better processing power, was so that I could download all the books. And you can also contact the Library of Congress librarian for Bard and let them know if they are missing any books. So, for instance, they did not have listed all the Terry Pratchett Discworld books. And I was like, but I want to listen to The Thief of Time. And they made it happen, because they actually technically already had a copy. They just hadn't uploaded it because they did not know that there was enough interest. And I'm like, but I want to listen to Thief of Time. And they did that. So
I posted 2 links, one just to the general website, and then I posted a second link, which is their instructions. And if you go to the bottom of that page, it's not a very long page, don't worry. It has a, whatever you call that, a pop-up menu or scrolling menu with links for every U.S. state of their state library program.
Okay. Yeah.
So that you can figure out who you need to go talk to. Because, every state's different. Who do I need to talk to?
Exactly. So let me see.
But it's a great program.
We've been using it for years, and we're very happy with it. And there's no limit to how many books you can download or how often you download the same book, because, sometimes I like to listen to The Cat Who Walks Through Walls yearly. And
I found several good sci-fi series, as well as everyone always talks online about there's no love for short stories. I'm not saying anything about you, Nichole. I'm just saying it's what I always hear is there's that they have no love for and it's but I love short stories.
Say. I don't know the accuracy of this though.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with publishers, but one of the things I found is in the Bard collection of audiobooks, there's several 50-hour plus short story anthologies of all the best sci-fi short stories from the last decade, including a lot of special ones just for this anthology.
And and a lot of other I found African American women sci-fi writers anthology for the 2000s, just that decade, nothing else. And it's 17, 18 hours of short stories. And that's sort of there is a little something for everybody. When I was going through my major folklore phase, when I was doing research 5 years ago into folklore from around the world, folklore and mythology. I found stuff that I literally cannot get in a physical copy anymore because it's out of print, but they have all 20, 30 hours of a copy of this Chinese mythology and folklore book that, has been painstakingly translated for like a couple decades. It's taken to translate this stuff, and they have it. And it's like, the amount of money they wanted, like whoever was reselling it, it was like several $100s. And I'm like, Bard has it for free. And I listened to many hours while commuting because you just plug your phone into your car's audio system, and just really explored a lot of that. So it's great for writing research as well. That's what I was trying to get at. Just before I forget, Megan did post a link to Stephanie's book baby, Tears of Yesterday, so we could all share in the love. Tom believes paperbacks are meant to be consumed. Yes. Maggie's brother and husband prefer audiobooks. And yeah, most of my family prefers audiobooks. Yes, The Fifth Elephant, if you get a chance. It's fun. Let's see. Jules scheduled the next 2 weeks of live streams. Woohoo! Yes, get us through Nano, Jules. Maggie wrote 88 words. I like the 88. It's a fun word. My favorite line from today. Oh, there it is. That couldn't actually happen, says Rhodey. Air Force One is bulletproof and bombproof. It has 2 kitchens, and it even has its own operating theater. Wow. I mean, yes, it's an Air Force flex. Maggie did 201 words. Excellent. And it jumped again. Where am I? Yeah, it was very cool to know. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure because, we often notice that even on AuthorTube, those who are, disabled or have additional challenges often don't talk about this wonderful, delightful, and free service. It is already paid by taxpayer money. It costs nothing more, therefore, for you to use it. And often, publishers will donate the use of their commercial audiobooks for Bard to offer to its patrons. So, especially in the 2010s, if you will, that's where we start noticing, books that were published in the 2010s, that the audiobook for it on Bard says a commercially prepared audiobook. And it's so often it's read by the author or it's read by one of those other professional Audible book readers. And it's just so nice to have that. So that means that there are a couple plays. I love radio plays, so I love the audiobook plays in there too. So we just want to make sure people know about it, just because while you might not need it, you may run into somebody in your hometown who could really benefit from it and has no idea that this service exists. And
it is, and unlike what most people would automatically think, since it says for visually impaired, it's actually for anyone who has reading difficulties, including ADD and ADHD, is also qualified. Anyone on autism spectrum pretty much qualifies.
Yes.
If you have a problem reading a book
for any reason, or getting to mobility issues, a lot of the elderly have either mobility issues or honestly, the book is just heavy. After a while, you know how you lay in bed reading? Maybe that's just me. And eventually your wrists get tired, that you qualify. Because they're really not trying to keep books from people. Come on. So yes, it's a service that's really close to our heart because we spent most of our life, childhood and at adulthood going, gosh, there's so many wonderful books, but we can't afford any of them. And it's just so nice of, oh, wait, now there is. And it's kind of funny because we've actually, they'll send us our state will send us a quarterly printout copy of all their new titles that have become available. And we'll look through and we'll recognize authors that we know. And I will literally screen cap, take a picture of that catalog page and say, you've made it to the big time. You are in Bard now. That is the largest single group of readers you can get to in America, let alone it's free. So there's no gateway to entry beyond the initial qualification and the paperwork. There's no gateway. They can just automatically download your book. So they do carry books for children. So yes, there are books that are only 3 minutes long because they are a real simple child's book. So they have picture books in there. They have chapter books for children. They have middle grade books. They have YA and new adult. They have for every age. And it's such a nice service. And it's like, y'all, use it. Go ahead. So CB says they sent the link to her mom. Yes, that's excellent. I'm very happy for it. Eva, if you need me to do a little more investigation for you for Illinois, I'd be happy to help you out, because I'm sure the Illinois library service has some websites. So yes, tell Mama about this. Tell Mama's all her mahjong and bridge friends and maybe poker. I don't know your mom. Tell all their friends. When we say shocking, what does that mean? Like good shocking or bad shocking? I've heard some stories from Terry Pratchett, and I am terribly curious if that has changed. Have any of you ever submitted to an anthology or publication? Have you, Nichole?
Okay, so in the course of your Google fooing, you may have picked up on this, or maybe it might be nice and varied. I actually used to work for, I was the senior editor of an online literary magazine. I don't like to talk about it because that was a dark time. I would not recommend anyone going through them.
I did find that, and I wondered if it was the same Nichole.
It's me.
I read some of the stuff and was like, this seems complicated. What is going on?
Yeah, every month I put out a letter from the editor to try to explain to the readers what is going on here. And for as much as I absolutely loved the person who was in charge of the magazine, the woman who made it and everything, she was a hot mess. And I literally had to take this crazy inbox and sort it all out. And I built the magazine back up. And after a while, I had no help from her. She was like, oh my gosh, I have all these other things going on. I'm like, well, that's terrible. I've got this. Do what you need to do. And then one day she was like, I think we need to talk to you about the way that you edit things. Maybe you should do it a little bit more like this. And I was like, honey, I know how to edit. Maybe if you want me to do a better job, you should get off your butt and help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just that was kind of the last straw for me. And I was like, I gotta go. Goodbye. and left. I can't honestly recommend anyone. So if y'all go Googling my name and you see it, I am not recommending. I am just mentioning. Mm-hmm. So no, I did do submissions to them before I worked for them, but then past that, I worked on the other side. Mm-hmm. So submitting to publications is to me, because it brings back memories.
I had looked into submitting to different anthologies, and my original goal in writing fiction was to be able to submit to I don't know if it's even still around, but Isaac Asimov Monthly, the magazine, and I think Clark's World, mm-hmm. as well. The science fiction short story monthlies publications are quarterly now. I don't know. And the more I researched into anthologies and other kind of essentially open call publications, the more I learned about what Isaac Asimov talked about of always know your rights as a writer and always know when your rights revert back to you.
Yes.
And that has honestly kept me from submitting to some of the more intriguing anthology calls, is because either the rights are not clearly outlined, or the rights that are outlined are incredibly questionable for industry standards.
Yeah.
They never revert back.
Yeah, excuse me, wait, what? They don't ever? No, you're not paying me that good.
And they want also unpublished, it was never submitted anywhere else.
Right.
It has to be original just for them, but they're paying just standard rates.
Or less sometimes.
Or less,
yeah. Sometimes it's we'll give you $20 to put your short story that no one's ever seen and might never see again in our anthology, and there's your 20 for your 3 weeks worth of work. It's
right.
Oh.
because I got into writing, honestly, through Heinlein's descriptions of it in The Cat Who Walks Through Walls, The Man Who Sold the Moon, and To Sail Beyond the Sunset. That part of the series, or, kind of loose anthology set that he did, where there's the character that he's a short story fiction writer. That's how he supports himself. He lives on a colony off of the moon because it's low gravity, and he only has one leg. He has a prosthetic. And so low gravity is much more comfortable for him. And he supports himself by writing, 1 to 3 short stories a month and sending them out.
Yep.
And that's how he pays for all of his living expenses off the moon. And I was like, oh, there's the dream. To be able to write genuinely short stories, stories that don't take more than a week or two to write and edit before submission. And that was the dream. And that was how I actually got into trying to learn my craft, I guess, essentially, was that motivation.
Yeah.
And I also had researched what did Asimov say, because again, I like sci-fi. And he was he talked about his filing system to keep track of his rights, and that was how that man had the same story show up in so many anthologies. And and I'm like, you go, you do that.
Was it on a 3-year term, a 5-year term, or a 7-year term?
Yeah, and he talked about that.
And then he had him set up so when that year came up, he had it to go start submitting again.
Yep.
Right. And so, so when I used to write for Dime magazine, they were very clear from the very start, I'm glad, that it was a 3 years and all my rights revert back to me. And I kept a copy so that I would always have that in case the issue ever came up. And all the rights have now reverted back to me. So I'm in the process of uploading those and setting up a website to share those.
Also worth noting, in the top, I see what Eva said about some publications only pay royalties. There are a lot of online magazines that don't pay you anything. And they say that, well, we're not paying you because what you're getting is exposure. People are seeing your name. People are seeing that, when you write your bio now, you can say, I've been published in this and this and this. From having been on the other side, I can tell you, this means exactly crap. Nothing. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. If you're not getting paid, they're getting paid. And that was kind of a sticking point for me with the place that I worked that is not being named, because they had ads up. So when people were like, I'm going to send you my story and I'm not getting paid for it, I'm doing it just so that I have that thing to put in my byline. Then it turns around, it's like, you're getting money though, because ads, and I'm sending my people here to see where I've published something, but then you're not giving any of that money back as a kickback to the actual writers who are the whole reason you have any revenue at all. It's just, if you're not getting paid, you're not getting paid, but someone else is. So that's to me where I'm very particular about that.
We had another friend from many years ago. We grew up, we grew up thinking we were related actually to him, who wrote a book about, ethnogeography. And he got it published by this small publisher. And then they went out of business. And they never published his book again. And they didn't actually say when the rights reverted.
Yeah, I was go through your paperwork and see if you could find a contract, because he had signed something so that the publisher could publish this. And he did receive a tiny little bit of royalties. And then that was it. And I'm like, well, how long do they retain rights? And he went through it. Could not find where they ever mentioned rights in this contract.
Which, if they don't mention, means that it's just for that one publication, period. They don't actually have...
Yeah, or one edition.
Yeah, they don't have re-edition rights either.
Right. It basically just means that they have permission to publish it this one time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's his again.
Right.
Well, he should be good.
Well, and then the publisher died. And literally as he was trying to contact them, they died. And I was like, Okay. So what you need to do is you need to contact the estate and make sure that they understand that this is what you're doing. You're going to republish and that this is the contract. And because for all you know that they didn't keep it, the original publisher did not keep a copy of your contract. So scan it in and send it to them just to give them notice. It's like it would be even better if you actually photocopy it and mail them return receipt, where they sign, at the post office that they received this notification, and you just legally notify them as a courtesy that we're doing this since this contract only covers the first edition or the only edition, of one edition of publication. And and it took him several years before he got through all of it, but he's now republished his copy, because I was like, I literally cannot buy your book anywhere, and I am very curious about this because it's about he grew up near where I lived. Well, not live, but where I used to visit in the Mississippi Delta. It was called Sludge. And the town that I used to go to was Sludge. Well, where he was from, Marks, Mississippi, was literally a few miles down the road. And I was like, I'm very curious to read your experience of you growing up and eventually, walking to Selma with the whole group. I'm very interested to hear about this. But I can't read it because there's no copy available. I cannot buy this book anywhere. And it was never made available on ebook. And so, it took about, I think 4, maybe 5 years before he published again with it. But I mean, at least he now has it published. But as a writer, knowing your rights is a big deal. I did want to point out, Eva said there's a new AuthorTuber focused on short fiction. Their channel is Effany Gale. And Eva also said the local haunts anthology has horror writers from YouTube as the authors. The proceeds from that are donated to a charity. Pretty sure.
Sounds cool.
So, ECB just wanted to clarify their library system is awful. I am so sorry to hear that.
It's one of the few things that sort of survived in the U.S. is our love of the local library, and they do keep trying to shut down libraries in the U.S., but it's one of the few things people will fight for in the U.S. is to keep their libraries running.
So, I know that we've talked about a lot of other things. We were supposed to talk about the movies, but how about we go ahead, because poor Nichole has been here forever, and she just wants to talk about Addams Family. The real reason she came to join us.
Yes.
So, Nichole, what's your hot take, sugar?
I love the Addams Family. I have loved it all the way from back when, not that I was alive back then, but the old comics, the one panels, and then the black and white TV show. Loved it. It was my favorite to watch. I was a purist. I wouldn't even watch the Munsters because I felt like I was cheating on the Addams Family. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I would watch it on TV Land and Nick at Night before there was a TV Land. And then, so when the movies came out, I was really excited because I liked the cast of it. I was like, that was what, in the 90s, 94?
91.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was 90.
I'm so old.
I thought it was, I don't know. It's in the description,
Yeah, it's 91 and then 93 or 94 for the sequel.
Yeah, I think the second one was 93. That was.
Yeah, but I loved them. I loved, I think it's is it the second one that has the family party where they dance? They have a big dance. There we go. See, now that's the other thing. I'm going to have a hard time keeping them straight.
Okay, there's no quiz. I promise.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But I love the music from that. And I just love all things creepy. I'm a little bit morbid myself.
Yeah.
So I just loved it. And I always wanted my own guillotine and stick my dolls in it.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one.
Where's my guillotine? Santa. But
where is my first guillotine? Okay? Surely, if they hadn't told Robespierre, then maybe we all would have. Terrible. When I first saw Mandolin, I was like, oh, it's like Guillotine 2.0. My mother's like, no.
Yeah, you can like line them up. Just take them down. I love it.
Shave them off. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that I mentioned earlier that I do have a complaint about, it drives me nuts that in all of Morticia's scenes, they have that light shining across her eyes.
Uh-huh.
Poor Angelica Houston had to have, like, her pupils had to be, like, just stuck by the time they were done filming because, you know, she had to stand there like that for every single take. No, I'd probably just close my eyes and be like, you're going to have to figure it out. Just put them on there with, like, tape or something. But no, I'm not sure why they felt like they needed to do that. She's so ethereal.
It's part of the noir style that they're imitating.
It's a reference to Nosferatu and the vampire gaze.
As well as the femme fatales in film noirs, which they're referencing with that.
Right.
Because you see it a bunch in anything with Kathleen Turner. Anything with Kathleen Turner in the 80s or early 90s has, I think it's actually called a snood. That's what the actual lighting equipment is a snood. And they open up one louver in order to get that shape, because there's actually a couple shapes they can do. And they used it a lot with Kathleen Turner, although they tended to use the multi-louver one, so it looks like blinds. You know, like a window blind. So it's like coming in, but it always is like, oh, but it's really interesting, like right here. It's a reference to the femme fatale from film noir period of the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Yeah. The Addams Family, because the director and executive and the producer of the movie, he's got his start in the 80s as a cinematographer. This was the first one he directed, but everything before that he did all the cinematography for. And apparently as well, like, they got through like 2 or 3 weeks shooting the Addams Family, and the cinematographer left, and they got in someone else for like a day or two, and he left. So Barry took back over duties of also being the cinematographer, even though he's not credited. He's the cinematographer for everything else. So that's why there's a lot of visual references to film throughout this. That's for people who love film for the last, 80 years. So yeah,
I see. So it's like an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, or an homage even.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I got into photography. Was I loved so much of the cinematography in older films, and I wanted to recreate that in photography. Fun fact, still photography, very different rules from videography or cinematography. You cannot try the same compositions that did not work and still that work in movement. Yeah. So I had a lot to learn the first several years of photography when I was a young thing. I drove a lot of photography professors insane. It's like, you're so close. Why does it not work? I mean, I can't tell you. I had one teacher who won a Pulitzer Prize in photography, and he's like, why doesn't this work? What did you do, Gloria? And I'm like, I was trying to imitate this scene from whatever movie. And he's like, oh, is that what you've been doing? Okay, let's talk about this. So, I mean, as soon as I finally explained what I was doing, he's like, oh, is that what the rest of y'all are trying to do? And they all were like, yes, that's what we're all trying to imitate movies. He's like, oh, stop that now. But yeah, because like for me, a lot of visual arts, the first real visual arts I got into was movies. And that's, I guess, originally why I was so into Addams Family. Although, yeah, I after school, I would watch the Addams Family TV show on reruns.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I absolutely, I loved Lurch. I loved it. I loved Thing. I kept confusing Thing with it as far as verbally telling my parents about episodes I'd watched. Yeah, because dyslexia is real. And yeah, and I was like, what is up with the Munsters? The Addams Family, are they like, I thought that those shows were essentially on the same street. Like these were
makes sense.
Families on the same street.
Mm-hmm. The part I ended up really enjoying the Addams Family, especially the movies for, was that some of this was actually requirements from the studio, but I got this as well from the TV show, which is that while yes, everything about this family is macabre, but they are not psychotic killers. This is them playing. This is their sense of humor.
Yeah.
They do not play in a way that purposefully is trying to hurt someone. An easy way to see that is in that first movie, we have Gomez fencing every time his lawyer shows up, scaring his lawyer, but we also see, Gomez is a superior fencer. He never once damages the guy's clothes.
Yep.
Because he's playing.
No, I thought he tore the guy's.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he did once. Yeah, because
that's how he shows. Because in fencing, that is how they show. Is they do the tap with the fence, to show I could have mortally wounded you, but we're just playing. So I thought that's what he was showing. Was like, I got you, Tully or Tully. Nah.
Yeah, but
that guy.
But and that's how they play throughout. No, they're not trying to kill anyone. And they even made sure in the second movie, because the audiences were unsure and very upset, that, well, yes, they did tie up the little blonde girl to, a pyre.
Oh, we're talking about Addams Family 2, Family Value?
Yeah, Addams Family 2, yeah. They at the camp, once they did tie her up.
Let's be honest, Amanda kind of had it coming.
But,
when she called for Wednesday's blood, let's kill them. Remember that one? When when Becky Martin Granger's like, don't you just want to just hate them? Don't you want to kill them? And they're like, yes. And then you're like, no, we don't. We're going to teach them.
But that's why they had the scene later on with the baby showing them in the airplane, all, headed home.
Amanda's family.
Yeah.
And Amanda.
Because no, they're not actually psychotic killers. But they do love to play with the macabre.
I also think that it's really admirable that the relationship between Gomez and Morticia, they have such
the most functional romantic relationship.
They adore each other. They are great for their children. They're such great role models all the way around. Nobody seems to catch that. They're all hung up on,
it's interesting. So I watched The Willoughbys on Netflix, which, is based on a children's book series. And it is about parents who are similar in that they're very much wrapped up in each other's lives there. But yet the Willoughbys, the parents, ignore the children. They don't care about the children. They neglect the kids. Versus the Addams, couple, they are very much into their children. So it's, what is going on? No, we need to leave. Okay, all right, you can electrocute him real quick, and then we're going. They're involved in their children's lives like loving parents should be. We expect that. Rather than to show, they're so dysfunctional. No, these people are just very different, but their values are not that far off from mainstream values.
And even when in the family values, their baby for a short while becomes, sort of normal.
There's blonde hair and
curls.
The horse. My baby's so sick.
They're not talking about immediately rejecting the child or putting it up for adoption or anything. They're like, all right,
the baby to dye the baby's hair or put them back in dark clothing. They accept their baby of as sad as it makes them. They know this baby must be so sad. But they're like, okay, green eggs and ham it is.
Yep. And their family motto, in Latin, I'm drawing a blank on it. Something we dine on those that consume us. I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that. I think it is we dine on those who would otherwise consume us or something like that.
Yeah, that is so fantastic. That should be everybody's motto. There's nothing wrong with that. It has nothing at all to do with we're going to conquer the world. It's everything to be you be nice to us and we'll be nice to you.
Right. Otherwise, you get what you have coming.
Yeah,
definitely relate. Yeah.
They just all the way around, their entire dynamic is something that our society could definitely benefit from emulating, and understanding that, being different, whether it be being goth or in their case where they're so incredibly, them, that you can still be healthy and great and just
they support each other,
yeah.
even when it's not stuff that they're directly, part of. Like, Gomez's response to Morticia's ennui, well, I guess I'm a modern woman, I want it all, I guess I just can't have it, is no.
So Nichole,
you will have it all. Like, I will do what I can to,
we will hire someone to raise our children so that you can have it all.
Exactly. And they're so fantastic. That's it. Oh, Tanya posted
Tanya
it.
Come through. We gladly feast on those who would subdue us. I mean, yes, I feel that so deeply.
Yeah. Versus, I think doing my genealogy research through about 6 or 8 different family mottos in England, they all translate to roughly the same thing.
No, in Germany. Remember, in Germany, and Norman, France.
And I feel like this is how you summarize who are the true nobility. This is what it means to be a noble person.
They all had almost identical ones, like
just slightly phrased differently.
From our father's side only.
Yeah, and it translates roughly to, we keep what we take. That's nobility for you.
Like, we ain't giving it back, and you can't take it back. It's ours now. We licked it.
Yep. So, like, that gift receipt you got, null and void. This is ours.
Yes. I'm like, if that's not noble, I don't know what is. Like, it is everything I know of medieval European history right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, versus the Addams Family is so functional, despite them being different than everyone else, they support each other. They always support each other.
I think that they recognize that society is not going to wholeheartedly support them in their endeavors, so they really do need to support each other if they are going to succeed, because we all get by with a little help from our friends. And if we are not supportive of each other, we're just by ourselves, floundering around, trying our best.
Exactly.
I mean, what I think is so interesting about the Addams Family movies, or at least the 2 Barry Sonnenfeld, because there is a third one. And then, of course, there's the cartoon or whatever animated series, But, like, so not talking about the Tim Curry one. But just the first 2 of the movies, what I think is so interesting is... Wait, what? You okay?
There's a Tim Curry one?
Yeah.
There's a Tim Curry with what? Gwyneth
It's
Paltrow?
Huh?
Uma Thurman.
No? Daryl Hannah.
There. Okay. You know what? If I go through enough blondes, I'm going to get there.
I love Tim Curry.
So. It's the problem that you'll see the visuals not the same. It's Addams Family Reunion. Someone has actually posted it on YouTube.
You can just watch it. Because nobody's apparently copyright striked this thing.
Yeah, because no one else really wants
you can just watch it on YouTube.
I'm going to go ahead and write that one down, too.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Go check it out. I mean, like, yes, Tim Curry, Uma Thurman. I mean, like, come on, Kill Bill. Yeah.
I love Tim Curry. I believe strongly that you can adequately judge somebody by the movie they know Tim Curry from.
You mean all the movies? Because, like, I originally was first, fell in love with Tim Curry child from The Worst Witch.
That music video?
Oh, he has this music video in the middle of a movie. The cape is huge.
That has Fairuza Balk in it, too, from The Craft.
Yep.
Yes, and she is so great. I love her in it. I was first turned on to her from Return to Oz. Because I am old. And... but I was a child, and I was like, yes, I wanted to be her when I grew up. Or at least at the time, I did not appreciate my curly hair, and I wanted to look like her. But, I mean, I later found Rocky Horror, and then...
It's Rocky Horror for me.
Changed my life.
And I was like 10, so...
Yes.
Yep. My dad thought it was okay to show my sister and I that. I'm 8 years older than she is, so if I was 10, she would have been 2. We were literally raised on Rocky Horror. That explains so much about what's wrong with
I feel like I'm getting a peek into your childhood past, and this makes so much more sense why you and I not only have similar fashion sense, but why we get along, okay? I mean,
exactly.
There's a lot of pieces are fitting together now, and it makes more sense.
Yep.
So welcome to the Fink Sandwich.
Thank you.
But anyway, what I was going to say about especially the first two Addams Family movies, and then we do later see this actually as well in the Men in Black trilogy. I am not counting Men in Black International. I'm sorry, CB, but there's some. No, I'm not counting it. I'm sorry, no. But anyway, is character development. So here is the issue as writers we have and as storytellers we have with character development. We need every character to have some sort of at least impression of a backstory for it to feel real and three-dimensional to our readers. We also need at least the main characters to have some sort of progression of self through the story or through the story series. But how do you do that without taking up all the time and weighing down your plot or weighing down the flow of the story? And what I particularly like about Addams Family and Addams Family Values is we don't have to go much into everyone's backstory. If you rewatch these films, you're going to notice they literally will drop a sentence here, a sentence there, and that is all you need in order to, you as the reader or watcher, viewer, whatever, as the participant of this story, you just fill in the rest because they're using tropes and cliches, but not in a cliche way. They're using like certain background ideas that we have in society to fill it in, and it does not make the characters two-dimensional. It works quite well, in fact. And that is why I wanted to talk about these films, is because as storytellers, we are constantly working on our craft. And this is something that I have noticed a lot. Like if I see a book this thick, and it is not an epic that goes over 500 years in a world, I'm like, what is this about? Why could you not edit it down?
It's telling you what color the curtains were.
You know how like that will totally bring in my rage effect so quick. I'm just telling you, I had better not know what anything looks like in this book unless it is important to the story. Do not waste my freaking time. So anyway.
Chekhov's curtains.
Yes. Chekhov's curtains.
Oh, sorry, take it back.
Oh no.
Chekhov's window treatment.
Okay, I would actually shop there though. Of like, this drapery makes sense. It has some meaning. Yes. Yeah. Chekhov's window treatments emporium.
And it's funny because now I feel like I personally have a place within this movie discussion because I love short stories. What I love about short stories is exactly that. Yes. You do not have to spoon feed people backstory. You don't have to spoon feed every teeny tiny little detail. Short stories are for people with really good imaginations because it gives you the freedom to let your mind fill in the blanks. And I kind of like, maybe it's just me being a jerk about it. That's definitely possible. But I feel like people who don't like short stories are lazy readers because they want everyone to say, here's the color of the curtains. They went from 3 inches above the carpet to a foot below the ceiling, and like describing that when it really doesn't matter. Like none of that matters. Like you're just telling me what the room looks like because you see it and you want me to see your room. But yeah. I have a really great imagination. I'm pretty sure that the room I come up with is going to be kick-ass. Not only that, but then I don't have to go back and reread a paragraph to be like, now, wait a minute, was that chartreuse blue, which is green, I guess? Or is it like vermilion, which is red? So, there's like that element there of when you have to give somebody every teeny tiny little detail, you're taking them out of the story. And
like you're saying that their imagination is not necessary for this story.
Yeah.
When the whole story is taking place inside their head. You're just telling them a movie in their head. But so I have a theory, and look, all it is a theory. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. But this is my theory. Okay, so I'm going to start with the photography world. Here's what I've noticed. If you like black and white photography, you're a photographer. If you do not have a camera and you do not take pictures, you're just a photographer who doesn't know you're a photographer yet. Because I literally have never met somebody with no eye for composition, for imagery, for iconography, essentially, who likes black and white photography. They all hate black and white photography. But if you have an eye for iconography, you have an eye for composition, whether it's painting, it doesn't matter, even real life. Whether you have a camera or not, you have the photographer's eye. You like black and white photography because the thing about black and white is it takes away color. Color can actually be quite distracting.
Yeah.
People tend to not notice as many details in a color photograph as they will notice in a black and white photograph, especially a well-contrasted black and white photograph.
Exactly.
So that is the photography thing I've noticed. So anybody who ever tells me, "Oh, I love your black and white photography, Glory," and I'm like, "Well, thank you so much. I did not know you were a photographer." Every single time I've said this, they're like, "Well, actually, I do enjoy taking photographs, but never thought about myself that way." And I'm like, "You are one, whether you know it or not." So I have an analog for this, though, is in writing. If you like short stories, which I love short stories, and in fact, like I have read every single short story anthology at the time in the 90s in the Oxford Public Library in Mississippi. Like, it's a 2-story building, it's filled to the brim with books to the brim, and I've read every single, back in the 90s, every single short story anthology, anything with short stories in it. I read it because I loved it, even as a child, even middle school, high school. But I've noticed the only people I've come across who are like, "I love short stories too," and will like appreciate the gift of a book of short stories, are writers, or at least aspiring writers. And I mean like writers who are actually working on their craft, rather than, we've met these people, the people who say, "Oh, I consider myself a writer." And you read their stuff and they're like, did they know how stories work?
Have you ever opened a book?
No, Glory. If we're going to, let me give you the stereotype phrase. Okay. How to recognize this one. This is right there with Milady Man.
Oh God, not Milady Man.
You are the equivalent of a writer if you say this line.
Okay.
I'm trying to write literature here.
Oh God, not that. I mean, it's one thing if I am trying to actually like make something memorable to read again and again. It's another thing if you're like, "Oh no, I don't write fiction. I write literature." Like, okay, and like I've literally left 2 different writing groups locally because of this. Of like, I do not write literature. I write trash, and I literally will tell this to people in real life as well as online. Obviously, y'all. I write trash. I am just trying to give you an escapism time. I'm trying to give you a good time hanging out in a world I have constructed so that you all can have a break from your day and just kind of join my world for a little bit. I'm just trying to write trash.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I don't think that I'm going to change the world.
No,
I personally don't think that the way I would change the world would necessarily make it better for everyone anyway. So I don't have any delusions that I'm writing like the next American bestseller.
Oh, I don't even know.
You can give me like 2 hours, I'll entertain you for a little bit. And maybe when you're done with the book, it'll sit in your brain and you'll think. But past that, I'm just kind of like, I mean, it's a story. What do you want from?
Right.
You want to change the world, go to the UN.
I have a theme song. As a writer, my theme song is "Let Me Entertain You." You know, the one that was sung by Gypsy Rose Lee. Yep. Let me entertain you. Let me make you smile. I am not ever worried about getting copyright strikes for singing because I never sing in the right key. So, okay. But I mean, like, honestly, that is how I view my writing. And that's honestly what I'm most of the time looking for in other people's stories. Is I'm just looking for some escapism, a little break from my life. Also, sometimes people have some really fun and creative worlds that I just want to go visit. There's nothing wrong going on in my life. I just want to go visit other people's lives because I cannot afford to travel all the time, let alone, quite frankly, our world at this point, no, hard pass. So I want to try other people's imaginary worlds. And that's all I want to do. But that is my hot take. And as I said, it's just my theory. I don't expect anyone to necessarily agree with me on either how to identify real photographers or people at least with the photographic eye, or how to identify people who are, really trying to write to, have readers rather than they're trying to write for themselves to show, oh, look how I am so elevated with my literature. Like, no, baby. Like, you know what? Shakespeare scratched his own butt too. Okay.
We were enjoying Indian food at a restaurant once, and on a Sunday.
Oh my God! At a buffet, so the Indian restaurant at the time used to have Sunday buffets, and I mean it was really like a really nice restaurant, so it's normally quite expensive, but the buffet was cheap on Sundays, so we would go, right, at least once a month, and we overheard this conversation.
And they're at the local university in a master's program. And they are talking about how they are writing literature. And we are just doing our best to keep a straight face.
Dying. dying as we're trying to eat our naan and our butter chicken and our pakora. Just like, no, don't look up. Don't look up. Just eat. Shove the food in your mouth. And they're talking in earnest about how, like, yeah, after he talked about da-da-da, whatever, something we'd never heard of, like, I really had to ask myself, what do the wolves mean? What do they symbolize? And then I found out they were talking about this story, The Peter and the Wolf. And I'm like, just shove it in your face, Glory. The wolves are symbolizing wolves. I've read the story. I am very familiar because it was one of my favorite orchestral pieces as a child. And I have checked this out because my mother, our mother's genetics is from Ukraine. So Ukrainian people have a lot of opinions about Russian stories. And yeah, like some real hot takes. And it's like, no, it was about wolves are wolves. Be careful, people. They get hungry in the winter. Wolves are wolves.
Yeah, they're not in place of any group.
They're not symbolizing any deep literary meaning. It's a wolf. He's hungry because it's winter.
And here's the thing that gets me, because another tidbit of information that you probably wouldn't have found through Google. When I first went to college back in the 90s, I went for music education. So I had to go through theory and history and all those different things of music. Having that discussion over what the music symbolizes according to the story makes sense. What the story means according to the story doesn't make any sense. Like there's definitely something to dissect here, but it's not what you're dissecting.
We were dying. We were just dying in the next booth over. We were like, and I told Tom, if I ever sound like this, you have my permission to slap me with a shoe. A used shoe. Just slap me hard. You could do it in front of other people. Although, if you're going to do it, please take my glasses off first. Like, just because they're expensive, because I have such bad eyesight, I have to pay for the expensive lenses. I'm like, please take my glasses off first and then slap the crap out of me with a used shoe. If I ever sound like this and I'm not trying to be funny, because there are times where I'm like, oh, I can spin some BS about art with the best of them, and I have unfortunately fooled a couple people, and I was like embarrassed that they believed me and were like, oh yes, no, I see what you're talking about in this painting, and I'm like, literally, it says here that their child painted it, like their infant painted this with finger paints.
Yeah,
it's just the joy and whimsy of blue is their favorite finger.
For those who need reference, go see our political discussion one on satire.
Yes.
And the problems of satire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Glory suffers from the problem of satire.
Tom says I play it too dry, and I don't mean to play it so dry. I think I'm so over the top that surely people see it, and it turns out not around here. So it is a fatal flaw of mine. And you are welcome to include that in characters. I'm just saying, everybody. Every character should have a fatal flaw. Let theirs be. Their satire is too good.
Yeah. Oh man. I love art. Just all the way around. I don't think there's some type of creative expression that I don't in some way have my toes dipped in. So I love art. I love talking about like Picasso and what led up to his blue period and the rose period and all these different things. But when somebody's like, here's a statue of like, I don't know, a baseball glove. There's literally a statue of a baseball glove in the Cleveland Museum of Art. And it just kind of sits there. And it's like, it's about, they're like, this statue represents the American dream of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's a damn baseball.
It's a glove, y'all.
How are you turning it into like this big thing?
I mean,
like, it is what it says on the tin.
Sure, it's an icon. We all recognize it, or most of us recognize it. Sure. But it doesn't symbolize everything. Okay. This is not, the unifying field theory of quantum physics.
I mean, it might be.
It doesn't exist.
But I doubt it.
I'm searching for it. Okay. No, don't worry. They have not found it yet. But it's not like that, where it's like a unifying field theory of art or anything like that. It's just a flippin' glove. It's beautiful in and of its own design. And then we're done.
Yeah.
Oh, the nice leather work. Yay.
Well, I mean, it's bronze, but still. Not so great.
I'm just trying to imitate some of the leather, like with the little stitches, stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
I have not seen it, or maybe I don't know if I have.
I think if you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah, you know what? I feel that, actually. But anyhow, this is what I just, but like to get all the way back, let's go all the way back after all these delightful tangents, which I have truly enjoyed. So all the way back and just say, this is what I really get out of Addams Family and Addams Family Values. And while, yes, Barry Sonnenfeld is not credited for writing the screenplays for both films, we know from the backstories that he definitely had a part to play in a lot of the little details of things said. Like, essentially, he allowed his actors, and he himself riffed and, improvised to a certain degree on it, as well as, he was trying to really work on crafting it. And part of how he crafted certain character development was, again, through lighting and camera angles and also set design. I mean, it is a team effort. And I wanted just to point that out, like, as a movie, like, yes, well, we do love Barry Sonnenfeld. And we've talked about for next year's version of this, we may actually go over Barry Sonnenfeld's beat sheet. Because we've started noticing by watching, like, the same director several films, that's like, oh, this director kind of has a beat sheet, which, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, as a writer, you could just crib it. Just crib the beat sheet and tell your own story with your own characters or different characters and just use somebody else's beat sheet that essentially works. Also, what I like about movie storytelling is it often has flow. It keeps moving, and that really has to do with the editor.
Yeah.
But, like, that was the part that I think is so important about these, and why we wanted to talk about these from a storytelling standpoint, is character development should not have to take up like a quarter of the entire space of your book.
Yep.
Whatever, or your story in general, like even if it's a short story. That's what I love about short stories, is they'll essentially use trope characters or, kind of a little bit cliched characters to start with, and then takes you on a plot adventure. That's, at least in science fiction, a lot of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such an enjoyable thing to do. To just sort of, you start with like the hard-boiled detective, and now he's going to like try to uncover a mystery. Great, let's go. I don't want to get to know him. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't need to know whether his mother loved him or not. Not important to uncovering this mystery. I'm good.
Yeah. I completely agree. I feel that there's an element that I think writers feel like they have to, new writers at least, feel like they have to, well, I've got to tell this because this says to do that. And I don't feel like enough people give consideration to the genre that they're writing in. Like, a cozy mystery is formulaic. You have a recipe for what you plug and drop into this story. And you just do that. And you follow that with your own creative things. But that's what makes it a cozy mystery, is that you follow those. If you have an action movie and you've got to spend like the first 45 minutes talking about, the color of the curtains in like the dude's bedroom or some stupid thing like that, you've missed the boat. You completely forgotten what you're doing here. Nobody cares about that in that genre. Now, if you're having like this super artsy movie that is about how the color blue ruined this guy's life in these various different ways, then yes, of course, the color blue of the curtains is going to be relevant. But if you're not writing that, you're wasting time.
The color of the rug if it's not blue.
Right. Like, but the rug's green.
It is like okay to talk about the curtain color if the curtain color has some significance in the story.
Yeah. If it's important, if it's a plot point, if at the end it all ties up and you go, then it's relevant. Otherwise, it is checkout.
But yeah, I feel like oftentimes if the storyteller is describing all these details and then it never pans out, I feel like my time and energy was wasted in that part of reading or paying attention to the story in whatever format they're telling it in.
Yeah.
Go on.
One of the things I really noticed, like you're talking again about, new writers, that they again don't really appreciate is, what Tarantino has become semi-famous for, there is if he writes a 2-hour movie and he's got 100-page script, he's got 2,000 plus pages of back information on all of his characters that he then gives to his actors, so it can inform how they do these characters, but he doesn't need to put it into the story. And that's why it ends up being cohesive, and why people talk about the acting is so good in the stories, is because the actors have all the information they need, but you as the viewer, you don't need to know, including like all the people who are related throughout his movies. There's a lot of characters that are interrelated and are on family lines, including like there's characters from Reservoir Dogs who are related to characters in something Bastards.
Inglorious
Bastards.
Inglorious Bastards. Like, they are, that's one of the characters' grandfathers is in there. Like, but it doesn't matter, but it does help inform the actors. It helps inform how you, as the writer, present a character. But the reader doesn't need to know. It doesn't help us.
Exactly. Like I can maybe figure that out on my own and hope really hard, but having that inner monologue that is aside from the story that's being told is part of the joy of reading, because you're like, oh, I think maybe this will happen. I think maybe that'll happen.
Yeah.
But if they like tell you outright, well, this is what's happening, where's the fun in that? Where's
and as the writer, you need to know how your character's going to act, so it doesn't feel like, so the reader doesn't feel like it's all a hat pull and a deus ex machina of just you're forcing your characters to do stuff. You need them to, act genuinely as that character.
Exactly. And actually, I have a short story that's in Ghost Stories for the Brokenhearted called Forgotten God. And you can Google that one, and it'll show up on that site that I used to work at that shall not be named. And it's literally the same story. I didn't change it. But I have a lot of people that ask me after they read it, they're like, so wait, but who's the narrator? Like, who was the narrator? And I'm like, I know, but I'm not telling you. You tell me. Who do you think the narrator is? And that for me is fun. And they're like, no, but for who? Who were you picturing when you wrote it? I was like, I didn't. Because if I didn't suppose in my brain that this was someone, it left the door open for my reader to put themselves in that place. You then become the narrator. And where your imagination takes you from there is valid. What you get out of that is the door that I left open for you to walk in. And that is so powerful in storytelling to give people the space to go in themselves without telling them they have to go in.
I actually just listened to a story like that on LeVar Burton's podcast by a very famous writer, female writer, actually, Shirley Jackson, called the story we used to tell each other. And it's a really strange, because of it plays with time and place, but also it's written entirely in first person, second. Like, I forget how you phrase it, but it's constantly using the word you.
I think that's second person. You did this, and then you did that. Because murder ballads are often told in second person, and that's what I love about
even though it's to yourself. So it's like first person, internal second. Like, it is a strange way to do the story, but it does play with that, so the person feels like they're in it, doing these actions, and so the reader inherently has to ask themselves, what kind of mindset would I have to be in to do this?
So it's like second person future tense?
Past tense. Second person past tense. Yes.
Okay, so not you would do this or you will do this. It was
but you did.
Okay.
Yeah, they do that a lot in Welcome to Night Vale, the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Every so often they will have one that's like that, whereas typically it follows that trope of being a radio show.
Yeah.
Every once in a while they will have one where it's like there's one where they meet these two guys with a briefcase, and the story is just, you're sitting in the car and you reach over to turn on the radio and you realize that someone is standing in front of you. So it's almost like having like a D&D playing out in front of you, but it's just neat because it puts you there. You can't not see it when they're telling you, like, you are doing this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm familiar with that story. That sounds really familiar. And I'm kind of racking my brain, but I think I know about that one.
I was listening to all of the Welcome to Night Vale podcast until I think like episode 63, and that just had to do with I was no longer commuting. And honestly, that's really what happened, and then I forgot about it. And yet I still follow the author, so I still have fun following Josephine.
Yeah.
But not related that we know of. But what I do remember that, and I remember every time I would listen to an episode where they did that sort of viewpoint, that it was like it felt intimate and yet uncomfortably so. So it gave an uncanny or odd feeling, an uncomfortable closeness feeling.
Yeah.
That's why they do it in murder ballads, where they often tell a murder ballad from the story of the dead person. Like they're the dead person who is already dead is now telling the story of how they died or how they were murdered specifically. And it feels so close. And I find that, it works because it's often when you're trying to make things feel a little creepy, when it's not going to immediately be obvious why this story should feel creepy to the reader or the listener.
Exactly.
But so, again, it's a device. It's a storytelling device, like so many.
And it's a good one.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know about it and to be familiar with it, and even to practice utilizing it for when you come across a story you want to tell that this would be useful for.
Yeah, and I think that to be able to have the technique and the restraint to be able to do that properly as a writer, I think really elevates your writing. So in the same cases with the movies, that's something that a lot of people would look at the Addams Family movies and just be like, oh, those are cute, and pat them on the head. But people who have, like Nora, you said, you can always tell when somebody's an artist. You can always tell when someone's a storyteller too, because they get the little nuances that other people miss. They recognize this is really rich and really well done from a technical standpoint, and they can maybe not say exactly why, but they feel it. So it's the same thing with I'm with you completely with what you're saying with the screenplay, the writing, the way how things went with the movie, how they don't give like the backstory, they don't tell this whole big long spiel.
It's not important.
And it's bits and pops of things throughout it that are just scattered that start to like fill in gaps that once you get it, then you don't even realize there was a gap there. It's just like, well, yeah, of course that's what happened. And you have to be a really great writer to be able to do that well. Hopefully someday I'll be able to pull it off.
I mean, we all hope that we all will get there eventually. Hopefully we will all help each other with the alpha and beta.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I thought we would maybe, while we're still talking about, just go on and we've briefly talked about character development and background with the Addams Family, and that pretty much just kind of segues us straight into Men in Black and Men in Black 2 and 3, since again it's still Barry Sonnenfeld. So what I think is useful about these, and again, I will go ahead and encourage everybody to try giving it a watch again. It can be a lot of fun, especially when you can see number 3 actually ties the whole thing together.
Yes.
Because number 3 actually tells you a bunch of the backstory. Again, this thing that we were talking about, you don't have to know, and it's true, you do not have to know the backstory. But then with number 3, it actually ties in and tells you a bunch of the backstory that just enriches rewatching the first 2 again. So, I'm going to spoil it, but I'm trying my best to spoil as little as possible because, I'm not that kind of bee. I try not to be. I say I'm not, and yet I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I like to ruin things for people. I'm not going to go into that story. Anyway, so what I think works with, like, for instance, even with Men in Black, where we literally, unless you've read the comics, you know nothing about this. At the time, I had read the comics because, when was it? It was like literally, no, I was, no. It was right around the time where I owned a comic book shop. And so I was
That
mildly
2 came out.
Yeah, when 2 came out, I already had owned a comic book shop, and so when I watched the first one, I didn't know anything about it. And it's not necessary because he uses tropes. So there's the hard-boiled, detective, and then there's the rookie. Even though Will Smith's character is not a rookie, as they state in the first movie, he worked for NYPD for several years. I want to say it was 7 or 14. I lost count. He'd worked for NYPD. He was not a rookie, but he was a rookie for law enforcement of the galaxy, so to speak, or at least those who visit Earth. But we know these tropes, and that's what they stuck with, these tropes. We all are familiar with this. Even in other languages and other cultures, we are familiar with the hard-boiled detective and the rookie. And then you have all these alien characters. Do we need to know every alien backstory? Nope. And it is really easy. It's really lovely to see, especially the first 2 films, and see how you do not need to know backstory on these aliens, even though they are aliens. And even if you're not really into science fiction fantasy much, you're still going to be familiar enough with these tropes, as they do not relate necessarily to aliens, that you are fine with these characters.
I mean, we get repeated comedic payoff with the lines of "It grows back."
I do love that. That's from the second film. Yes, it grows back. How disappointing. I do love how Barry Sonnenfeld keeps using Tony Shalhoub in like all his films. He's in Addams Family Values. He's in Men in Black. He's in Men in Black 2. I don't remember if he shows up in Men in Black 3. But it is nice how he reuses the same characters. He reuses David Cross in the first 2 Men in Black movies as different characters who do not seem in any way related to each other, other than they both live in New York City, the greater New York City. I do like, and I think it's interesting that for the TV episode, or like sort of, it's like an episode within an episode of both Addams Family Values with Debbie, and in Men in Black 2, he uses the same actor, I can't remember the guy's name, to do a TV show that our characters we're following are watching. And before I totally leave Addams Family, I just want to point out, because we are the awkward siblings, we're just going to say it. So, autism, primarily where it is actually a disorder, where they call it an autism spectrum disorder, the disordered part, it tends to be primarily a communication disorder issue. So, and believe it or not, autistic people have trouble communicating with each other. It's not like twin speak or something. It's like, oh no, Tom and I, you should see us by ourselves at night in the same house. We're like, speak English, what are you saying? So, one of the things in our family we've always done is, before there were memes, we literally would meme each other with quotes from movies and TV shows. And our father was seriously into musicals. And he would meme, if you will, by singing songs. So every time I'm like, Daddy, I just had a great idea, he would start with, oh yeah, you got the horse right here. His name is... I mean, that was his way of saying, like, I got such a great idea. Let me tell you about it. It's so hot. That was like his way of like saying, I understand what you're saying. And that was my opportunity to say, no, it's not like that kind of idea. Is this kind of an idea or whatever. And Tom and I do this too. Like anytime, and yes, it has happened more than once, I am complaining about a very privileged thing, Tom will break into, what about Debbie? And I'm like, and like my job is to then realize or to enjoy the irony or the enjoyment of complaining about something that is a privilege and saying like, I am a ballerina, Barbie. Did I get that? And he goes, no. I know. I got the Malibu Barbie. Why don't they understand at Starbucks? I don't want the cinnamon latte. I wanted the pumpkin spice latte. And that is our quick communication way. And that's what we love about these kind of movies, is that they have these wonderful little nuggets to keep talking about.
Yep.
Again and again and again. And I guess what I'm saying is I don't know enough about storytelling to make sure that you all like know how to leave these nuggets in your stories. But as soon as I figure it out, I'll be sure to tell you. Apparently I do it all the time by accident, but I have not figured out how to do it on purpose. I'm still working.
Yeah, I don't do it on purpose.
Look, I'm working on it. It's it's a craft. I'm not done yet. I'm gonna figure this stuff out. But we do communicate with each other. And Barry Sonnenfeld is one of our favorite filmmakers for that reason, because so many of his films have these very iconographic,
Iconographic.
words are not.
I'm Nichole Ford Thomas, and I don't know how to talk about myself at all, ever. So I have a book that's coming out, Spellbound, The Magician. It comes out December 1st, and I would love it if you bought it, and super love it if you bought it and said something nice about it. If you don't like it, you don't have to tell anybody. It'll be our secret. So, but that's it. That's it. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Nichole.
Thanks. Guys, thank you for letting me be on, and this has been really fun. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your stream.
Okay. And remember,
Bye, guys.
information is down in the description. To subscribe to her, to follow her on Twitter and Instagram and all the goodness. And her book link is down there, as well as her author pages. Links.
Yep.
They're all down there.
Thanks, guys. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye. All right. We're going to go for a quick break, and then we will come back, and we will go over the chat. 3, 2, 1. Beep 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 beep. It's never gonna stop being funny. You're still muted. How's it going, Tom? Is it going full of snacks? I don't even know what that is. Is that pizza? Okay. How did everybody do? I ate more of the delicious spinach chips, so of course I had to do a quick teeth check. Just because. Oh, what a crazy month this is. How did everybody else do? Yeah, I did nothing. I did nothing other than snack. Stare at things. I stared at a bunch of stuff.
Looks like Nikki's here.
Nikki's here, yes. And Tanya messaged me that she had to go run errands before the news started.
Hey, I was glad to see her. She was able to stay so long.
I was pleasantly surprised Tanya joined us. Yeah. So let's see. There was much discussion. I have missed so much. It's my own darn fault. I'm definitely having a serious ADHD day, y'all. Started with waking up from a dream that had not just one but two exes and my father in it. Not the greatest morning. Oh, so much scrolling. Where am I? I don't even know where to start. You know what? I don't know. What do y'all want? Kat joined us briefly. I saw that in there. Yay! Their goth game was just strong. They loved each other, displayed it, unlike other shows. Yeah, that's fair. Why, yes, Eva. Librarians really do just know all the things. Okay, technically, in the 21st century, I just want to point this out because nobody is asking. I don't even know who's still here. I'm just going to say, librarians do not have to know everything anymore. You just have to know where to find it. That is the 21st century rules for information curation. You don't have to know it. You just have to know where to find it. But yeah, back when encyclopedias were real thick and could get stolen, yeah, you had to just know information because you couldn't just pull it up with your, the touch of a button. Wattpad. Ever since I heard that there's at least one website mirroring Wattpad, and Wattpad, even though they have lawyers, are not using their lawyers to protect their writers, their people who submit their stories to Wattpad. They're not protecting them from getting their stories mirrored. I just don't have good thoughts about Wattpad. Eva says there's another tuber with the name Monica J. Sutton that does preschool sessions. That's great. And she sings the days of the week to the Addams Family theme. Yes. There's Monday, and there's Sunday, and there's Monday, and there's Tuesday, and there's Wednesday, and there's Thursday, and there's Friday. Then there's Saturday, days of the week. Days of the week. So, Kat owns the black and white TV show and the first of the movies from the 90s. Excellent. I'm glad. Maggie loves the 1990s Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Oh, yes.
Yes, good times. CB says the movie lost its director earlier this year. 2020 is just rough.
Have you seen the trash fire? It just grows bigger.
CB says, remember watching the Addams Family TV show on Monday evening at 6 p.m. on BBC Two. Yep, we all enjoyed it. Yeah, I hear the UK has discovered The Simpsons because I like BBC and RTE, Ireland channel, because they still have VJs, which we don't have here in America anymore. And I actually like hearing the VJs, so the Doctor Who episodes that we have, the ones I prefer are where Tom has found one that's an actual recording of the BBC show, even though we have a bunch of the seasons like on DVD. It's so I can watch it on the hard drive, and it'll be like for like there's a Christmas episode. It's like tell Nan to wake up, Strictly Come Dancing Christmas episode starting, and I just love it every time I watch that episode of Doctor Who. Yeah, I really enjoyed the VJs on BBC and Channel 4 and RTE and RTE2. Eva says they have a highly sexual attraction to one another as well. It was vital part of their character development. Yeah, it was good to know that, this was at least one married couple that were really into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than it being antagonistic. Kat says, I loved in the show when Pugsley was acting normal, they supported him even though they did not understand. Yeah, Pugsley was a bit of a mystery to them in the TV show.
I think it's why our parents related to watching that show. Because their kids just reminded them so much.
What is this the link to the
I believe the next line.
Third?
Yeah.
The Addams Family reading. Well, it's there, y'all. It's there in case you just want to see it. And see Tim Curry. I know. It's not really about Liam Neeson, although I do have some mixed feelings about Liam Neeson after what he said. Anyway, I'll go into that another time. But it's more of just the Men in Black International. Anyway, that's just a rolling trash fire. And of course, I'm entitled to my opinion, and you are entitled to yours. And you can love it for all the reasons I may not love it, and that is totally fine. And I respect that.
Yeah.
Because that's fine. I mean, I am not expecting everybody to necessarily agree with me, but rather so that we could have discussion about it. Because I do want to hear about that. That is what I enjoy. That is what I want. And I'm going to, this may surprise y'all, but even though I have known Tom his entire life. Sorry, did not mean to click on that. I have known him his entire life. I am often surprised about his opinions about things because we'll talk about stuff, but he doesn't, I may not know, what he specifically likes about something. So that's why we discuss these things. Yes, Tim Curry in Legend. He's amazing. Yeah, I can't believe we forgot to mention Legend. I mean, when talking about Tim Curry. Yes.
I totally forgot about him being in Annie till Tanya brought it up.
Oh, I did not forget. I mean, well, I did sort of forget, in the moment here, but
yeah.
Oh no, let me tell you about some of my early crushes. Yeah, little 7-year-old Glory had a thing for Rooster. Even though he was a bad guy. I mean, I had so many issues to work through from such an early age.
Yeah.
But yes, I can sing Easy Street. Not well. I'm not promising you well. CB says, yes, there's a reason I have a peeve about
Home Alone 2.
Thank you. That creep with the hair. I think if I've watched it, I've only ever watched it once and then never felt the need again.
Yeah.
Annie and Rocky Horror. I don't think I've seen Rocky Horror all the way through let me tell you, Rocky Horror is even more fun when you at least, especially if you can go watch it in person with a group of Rocky Horror fans that are doing the immersive interactive bit. I mean, not the part about throwing hot dogs. That's weird. And also don't waste food. But all the other stuff where they repeat the lines and they have the quips and it's fun. It's crazy. It's wonderful. Yeah, I hear they are re-releasing the 1982-83 version of Annie to the theaters this month or next month. I guess it's why Carol Burnett and someone else is going on tour. Maybe it's Tim Curry. Maybe it is Tim Curry. Who's doing radio interviews or something to promote it. And I'm like, it's a movie theater in a plague. Stop it. But otherwise, it's awesome. Ginger Clown. Are we talking about... It?
I'm not sure.
The nightmares. CB's out there writing for them and them alone. And you're killing it, girl. You're just killing it. It's fantastic. Number one fan is always with you and cheering you on. If only all of us could have a fan like yours. Yes. Spill the tea. Found out today there's apparently going to be a book of Alan Rickman's diaries. Yes, apparently he had like a ton of them. A couple dozen, maybe? I don't know how this is going to... Are they going to do like an abridgment? Like a best of? I don't know.
It's supposed to just be in one book. I assume so.
And CB posted a link, but I think it got broken up into 2 different sections.
It pulled through with just that one.
Okay, because there was this, and then there's this.
Yeah, like, I don't think that was needed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Maggie has offered a nice pair of Korean slippers for you, Tom. So sweet, so kind. A wise woman satires the siren to the fool's ear. Is that a quote from someone? Or is Maggie quoting herself? I mean, it's brilliant. I love it anyway. For Christopher Lloyd and Addams Family lovers, yeah, Dead Before Dawn.
It reminded me when Nichole was talking about her story and everything. I'm like, I've seen a movie like this. And it is a Christopher Lloyd movie.
Well, yeah, Night of the Comet. I have to be honest, I tried to watch Night of the Comet recently and I fell asleep. I mean, nothing against it. It was late for me.
I mean, it's an 80s movie. It is a little bit slower.
It does start off pretty slow. Like, slow enough for me to, like, not remember anything past the arcade.
Yeah.
Sorry. The only movie that defies the logic is Schindler's List because he ports the little girl's red coat. I did not watch it, but because I just did not feel like going through the emotional ringer. When I came back from the Philippines, plenty of people described the movie at length to me, and I felt like I do not need to watch this. I'm good. Also, like, I had gone through my Holocaust phase in middle school, so again, I was good. If you've never gone through a Holocaust phase, I can understand why people would want to watch it. But having like read a lot of firsthand memoirs about individuals' time in various concentration camps and work camps, I was like, I feel like I'm okay on this one. Like, I mean, I have cried along with so many of these memoirs, and just I'm like, I feel okay about this.
Yeah. Don't feel a need to watch. Was it Boy in the Striped Pajamas?
Yep, I'm good. Oh, and let me tell you, by the way, that movie. We actually, at our local library, while I worked there, had somebody actually fill out the whole form to censor the movie and the book. They were so upset about it after having checked it out. And we literally explained, like, the scene that she was actually objecting to, or the part of the scene of number one. We're not going to, like, go in and edit the copy of the film. And number two, it's not meant to be puerile. It's not meant, for entertainment, like, to enjoy the subjugation and abuse of another person. It's meant to show the horrors of this kind of thinking, this fascism, and how it's abusive and how it's so horrible. And she said she understood that, and the woman still filled out the censure form. We did not censor the film. Just that.
I mean, it really reminds me of the complaints people then had later on when was it Jojo Rabbit came out, and Taika's portrayal
Of Hitler.
And it's like, the whole point is that this is ridiculousness, and this is the kind of stuff that happens with fascism.
Yes.
It has no basis in reality. None of this story has a basis in reality till we hit 2/3 of the way through, and everything comes home. But before then, no, this is not reality. The little boy
kind of lives in his own little bubble, like most children do, because they've been protected by the adults in their life. I mean, that's what a lot of loving adults try to do, is protect children from the harsh horrors of life. No matter whether you live in fascist Nazi Germany or you live someplace you think is lovely, they still are going to try to like create a bubble to protect children from like knowing everything.
Yeah, whenever you hear someone say, I wish I could go back to simpler times, back in the past when it was easier and better, it's like, how old were you in these simpler, easier times? Was it when you lived with your parents and you didn't have to be aware of anything? You didn't have to take care of any problems that arose? Is that what you're really saying?
Back
Because the world's always been like this.
Oh, the world has actually been worse. Like, I mean, I got to be honest, like, as much as I consider 2020 to be a rolling trash fire of a world, it's actually not half as bad as like so many other decades and centuries in human history. Like this is still an improvement. And I'm sorry to say that because I know so many people want to be indignant and upset about this year, and they have every reason to be upset about it. And I agree. Yeah. But in perspective here,
it's more of a lot more of reality has ended up being shown to the world and not be able to deny it like it usually is.
Right.
It's not that it's actually been that different. The 80s were just as awful.
They're pretty bad. Also, there was way more date rape. Tom, I think you posted, is this the link? This is the link to that story, the story we used to tell by Shirley Jackson. It's fantastic. And then the greater link to LeVar Burton's podcast, because while we are not sponsored, we do endorse.
And LeVar Burton is one of those people that does try to do their best.
Right. CB says, it might have been, I can't honestly remember, it's been a while since I've watched Schindler's List. Yeah, it's foreshadowing. And then Maggie starts explaining like a headcanon, I guess, theory story.
Yeah.
There were several hints that Kay knew Jay before they met.
Well, I mean, and that was brought up in the first Men in Black. Because, Jay even asks...
Have you ever flashy thinged me? No. Jay?
But really?
Really?
No.
And CB says, we danced to Men in Black for one of our disco exam routines, and I am absolutely tickled pink about the concept of a disco exam. Silver medal.
Yes.
And Maggie says, it's interesting to look at Men in Black 1 as the split in the universe between Men in Black and Bad Boys, because Jay was the same guy, and that's fair. Yeah, I think that they definitely hired Will Smith to play a certain kind of character that they knew he was capable of.
Yeah.
CB says it was the mid-90s. This was before lyrical and hip-hop. Maggie says, if Kay had flashed him, he would have moved to Miami and Bad Boy. What do you got to do? We're very happy for Nichole. We hope all the best for her life.
Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, why did you jump? I mean, every time you get close to the end, it jumps.
Yeah, mine was the next one. I will have to remember that one for
the headcanon episode.
Because it does work in well of these stories we kind of make up and imagine of how different movie universes are related.
Right.
I mean, quick preview. I have this headcanon that Carl Urban is playing, has the same soul in every character he plays throughout all the stories, and they're all characters that really want to be abused. Like he sets those that soul sets itself up to get punched a lot.
Yeah, he does. CV got 279 words. That's excellent.
Nice.
And Nikki got 38 words that time. Very nice. Very nice. Let's see. Let's order pepperoni pizza, fries, garlic bread, soda, and yes, I want to watch a movie. I'm totally ready.
I feel like any time pepperoni pizza is mentioned in CB's stories, there should be, in parentheses, just the word shot. Because it is a pepperoni story.
Right. What movie do you want to watch? I don't mind as long as it's not an action movie. What about The Greatest Showman? Yeah, we can watch that. I still need to watch that movie. I still have not. Yes, that site, I believe CB is talking about Wattpad. It is a piping hot mess. I agree. Simpsons moved to Channel 4. Yes, I've heard. Mostly from, I like to watch Have I Got News for You and QI. And sometimes, because people post them on YouTube, just for me, so I can watch them. And sometimes it'll have the little VJ bit before or after, and they'll like, and next upcoming is The Simpsons at 6. I like that stuff. Nikki's left. Bye, Nikki. And let's see. CB says, I think Alan Rickman had like 27. Oh my God. I mean, I say that as an absolute hypocrite because I don't know. Tom's seen my notebooks. How many notebooks do I have? I mean, it's a lot of lists and all sorts of random things. So,
how many notebooks do you keep finding that you've already written in as well?
There's no need to be like that. Was Christopher Lloyd in Suburban Commando, or am I confused? I'm not familiar with this movie. So
yes. Yeah. It was the Hulk Hogan movie.
Did not watch. I do not know what Hulk Hogan movie you were talking about. Are not like The Sound of Music because they are much grittier. Yes. And as I said, like I had already gone through my Holocaust phase. I had taken my little preteen self through the ringer on that. And that was good. That said, like when I would ILL, interlibrary loan, request books for other patrons, some of the books they requested were actually rather interesting because I have to flip through them, or I used to, when I worked there, I had to flip through them to make sure none of the pages fell out. Because if the book was returned damaged, the patron would have to pay for the book, which could sometimes be very expensive. So we always checked ahead of time to make sure the book was in good quality before we sent it out. We didn't want to send any damaged books out. And I would usually end up reading the photograph captions. And so I've learned a lot because World War II is a highly requested subject in interlibrary loan world, all over the country. Charlie said Nazism is cosplay gone very wrong and banned headcanon with guns.
I think we're going to have to get that clarified a little.
Like BANNED? Carl Urban is his own kind of quantum leap. I mean, like, I really enjoyed him in Lord of the Rings. It took me a while to recognize him because that blonde. Yeah, baby. CB says, I don't know why, but for some reason I think Tony Stark's favorite musical would be Barnum. All right, I'm open. Tom says, I can kind of see that as Tony is definitely a performance artist deep in his soul. Yes, definitely Tony's doing performance art. So, it looks like CB and Charlie are still here. It is lovely that you both have made it this far. Ignore him. It is lovely that you both have made it. And we're at the end. Let's see. Are there things you would like to talk about, Tom? Because I could talk about the nothing of my Nano project. As good news, I have finished the party scene. I finished it many days ago. Have I done anything since? No, I felt like crud.
You have. You watched a lot of Guy Fieri going to eat tacos.
Okay.
To learn about taco trucks.
I literally have 2 pages of taco truck names.
Although, real quick, Charlie, since you are here, I came across a term yesterday or the day before, and I just love it. And it is thadies.
As in ladies and thadies.
It's one of my new favorite terms. And it's like, I can go with this for, using terminology. All the single thadies.
All the single thadies. All the single thadies. All the single thadies. Put your hands up. Okay. Yeah. So I literally binged for, I don't know, 10 hours, 12 hours maybe. Diners, drive-ins, and dives yesterday. To do taco research. I really did do that. I have all sorts of taco truck and other food truck names. Some of them are absolutely terrible, and a few will actually make it in. And then also I watched a bunch of rom-coms this week as well because, again, I felt like crud, and so I just put on rom-coms, and they were weird.
Again, studying your genre.
Yeah, because I didn't feel well enough to write, so I at least did research. CB says Suburban Commando was the third movie Hulk Hogan made. The first one was Rocky 3, and then there was No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, and then he did Thunder in Paradise 1 and 2. I mean, I am familiar with Mr. Nanny. We may have even rented it at the video store, rented it out to other people. I have literally watched none of these movies. It was Wagner Murder Point.
I feel like that was taken verbatim from some little website somewhere for the explanation of World War II.
Okay, technically the one we saw was spelled like that, but I have since by the way, yes, one of the food trucks, I spelled it Theydee apostrophe S, like, hello, Thady. Thady's fish tacos, so fresh they snap back. I'm not saying that this is high art, because it's not. Yes. Thomas watched all the things that I'm like, hard pass. CB says, I despise Hulk Hogan. I must be the only person over 30 who watched wrestling back in the day who does. I guess so, because like I never really quite got into the performance art of wrestling. I mean, I now see the historical context because I watched this fantastic 3-part documentary series called Rude Britannia. Again, because the documentaries are so good, I have inadvertently become an Anglophile. I did not mean to, but honestly, British documentaries are great. And it is this wonderful series. By the way, if you haven't watched it and you can't find it anywhere, let me know and I'll try to help you out. Anyway, and they talk a lot about lowbrow theater, if you will, in England during like post-Elizabethan era, and why yes, wrestling definitely has a historical context here. It just never was like my thing, although it was Tom's thing. So like essentially I know adjacent. I know of Hulk Hogan. I certainly watched several cartoons where I think American cartoons where Hulk Hogan made cartoon cameos.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't entirely willing. It was like the way it would go is we would, after school, we would essentially divvy up the like what channels we're going to watch when, because we didn't have cable, so we only had like the basic 3 or 4 channels, but they all had like after school shows and cartoons and things, and we'd like divvy up what we're going to watch. And Tom always got the G.I. Joe one. So I would miss out on the original My Little Pony show with the mermaid ponies. Shoop shoop biddy. I loved them so much. Let's see. Never liked them at all. What?
The original Greek chorus of cartoons.
They were awesome. And they were so pretty with their little mermaid in a stream. They were freshwater mermaids. I mean, do you know how hard you have to work to like swim upstream in a freshwater when you're as heavy as a freaking horse? You have to be strong, Tom. It's a strength thing. Just saying they're deserving. Yes, Macho Man. I am familiar with Macho Man again because Macho Man made it into some cartoons. And The Undertaker.
Also, if I remember right, I believe Macho Man is from Mississippi. Like, he's actually from here.
You're probably right, because I think he got caught up into that scandal with Brett Favre for all the welfare money.
Yeah.
His family got caught up in that, where they used Mississippi welfare money for needy families, and they, took hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, and that is how I'm familiar with Macho Man. Pro wrestling started as a carnival sideshow. Yes, it did. Yes. Okay, so to the 2 or 3 souls who are still here with us. Hi. How's your Nano project going? Are you writing at all? Anything? How's the stories going? Is it all trash? Mine is trash. Do I care? Yeah. So the next scene that I was going to tackle with my Nano project it's a date scene, and they're going to go to a taco truck. And I'm going to just tell you, I am not trying to get anyone to play a violin for me for this one. But do you know it has literally been decades since I've been on a good date? It's been about 20 plus years. And it had been so long that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know anything. That's why I needed to watch some rom-coms. And then apparently an entire day of Guy Fieri. Well, I keep wanting to call Guy Fieri, but whatever. And all the terrible food. Oh my God, there is some like restaurants that I can't believe they showing this stuff off. This is like not the best ideas I've seen. So anyhow, Tom, how is your whatever you're doing?
Well, I mean, as I said earlier, finally managed to upgrade the laptop processor, so it's not giving me as many problems.
That's a lovely improvement. I'm really happy for you, and I again shout out to Eva who made it possible. Thanks so much, girlfriend.
I'm still just sort of trying to edit all our videos to make best of videos, and then I'll probably soon start also rolling out just individual little 10-minute segments of our best little conversation pieces. That's my when I'm not working, let me keep promoting. Because really, like, I've seen YouTube's recommendation of us has really gone up since I started posting the videos.
I've noticed that as well.
So, I mean, it is true about they still much prefer posted videos to live stream.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how popular you get, there's still
Yep.
much higher preference on pre-made video. But yeah, that's mostly what I'm up to. Is I'm driving around working or trying to work on those videos.
Charlie says they think they need to start their book again. They need to shake up the cast so it works better. I hear that. Next week, we're going to be doing Southern towns as a setting in stories and movies. And like specifically, while we're not expecting anybody to watch Gone with the Wind or Song of the South, that is what we're going to use as a compare and contrast of times when the setting doesn't work, or at least is problematic. Because
Let's say the difference between using the South as a good setting versus a problematic and they're what do you call it? Aggrandizing the wrong parts.
Right. Versus the stories that used it in a less problematic way. So, for instance, what is it? Good and Evil in the
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, based on a book, a nonfiction book, and Beautiful Creatures, and Finian's Rainbow, the musical, because we love a good musical. Thanks, Dad. And if anyone else has any other recommendations, we would be happy to try. And when I say anyone, I mean Charlie and CB.
And don't forget also we'll also be doing, was it Song of the South?
I thought I did mention that.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Gone with the Wind and Song of the South that we're not.
I must have had a moment. Sorry.
To watch it. Well, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just thought I did. I don't know. But that's what we're planning to talk. And we may have a guest as well, a guest author. And again, we are very open to helping promote any other authors, especially as they're promoting new book babies. It does seem like it's almost like book baby season.
Well, I mean, you yourself have given yourself, an artificial deadline to have it out by next year around this time.
Well,
a little bit before this time.
Yeah, I was like ideally aiming for late summer, and I just like literally made up that idea. But I heard it, but I'm a figment. Ah, yes, okay. Don't get involved in this, Charlie, where Tom keeps saying that this is a bubble universe and that he is a figment of my imagination as well. And I keep claiming I'm, in fact, a figment of his imagination as the more functional idea that he is not willing to entirely embrace. Because all we really want is to not have an apocalypse.
Yeah.
Hence the bubble universe. It's an offshoot of the real one that's like terrible. So I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Because nobody is here. For real, nobody's here. So anyhow, thank you so much for watching. It has been lovely having everybody here. We hope you will come again next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Or you can rewatch. You can watch the broadcast on the replay. Reruns are great. Plus, at a later undisclosed date, Tom will have a highlight reel that will be anywhere between 1 and 2 hours long. Where we will talk. And next week, we're going to talk about Southern settings for writers, how to essentially set stories in the Deep South that are less problematic than the Deep South is. How about that? Thanks so much for coming. Yeah. Goodbye.